I was deluged by delegates who came up to me and were very supportive, very helpful to me in many ways. And I looked up, and Delegate Hansen was waiting in line. And he walked up and he offered his hand. And he said, "Earl, I was misunderstood. I was misquoted. I didn't mean it the way it was printed in that paper. And I want to talk to you about this. I just didn't feel that this was the time or the place to talk." And I said, "Representative Hansen, perhaps you should have thought about this when you testified. Perhaps you should have chosen your words more carefully." And I dismissed him and didn't know how to handle it otherwise. But again, I was a little bit emotional. Well, after a short time, Mr. Sievers came up and some other delegates, one who later became a good friend of mine, Rick Champeau. Rick Champeau was a Democrat delegate from Kalispell, and Mr. Champeau was the chairman of the Education Committee. And they said, "Do you have a statement that you would like to have included in this Constitution?" I said, "Yes, I do." The way it came about, I had researched, since I soon concluded that the delegates would not write such a statement, what would be appropriate. I wanted to stress the heritage of the American Indians, and then I carefully researched what I felt was an appropriate term: cultural integrity. I went through everything, every source I knew, to select a term that I could use to really get across the idea of what I wanted. Now, my first statements that Mr. Champeau had requested were very clumsy. I said that the state of Montana should recognize the heritage of the American Indians and then preserve their cultural integrity, and it was kind of wordy, so to speak. Well, at one of the meetings with the Montana Intertribal Policy Board, I told them that I really think the delegates are looking for a succinct statement that they can consider. I told them that I just assumed they would listen to us as witnesses, and then they would draft the appropriate language, but that wasn't happening. Well, a young attorney for the Montana and Tribal Policy Board was present, Donald Marble. Mr. Marble was from Chester, Montana, and he said, "I think I understand what you're trying to say." And he then gave me a real grilling on, what is this cultural integrity? What does that mean? What does that imply? So I explained that to me, cultural integrity means honesty. The state is committed to preserving in an honest fashion all of the aspects of the Indian culture and will pass it on to succeeding generations. Honesty, sincerity. So Don Marble just took out a pencil and wrote what is now in the Constitution of the state of Montana. It was just so clear. It wasn't as wordy and very meaningful. So this is the statement I gave to Mr. Sievers to take to the delegates. I don't know if it was that same time or later, but I got word that the delegates had voted to consider this amendment that I gave them. So on March 5th, 1972, which was the last day that amendments would be considered, again, to my surprise and I guess utter joy, again I was invited to meet with them. But this time, I would be seated on the floor of the Constitutional Convention. I don't know if this was a common practice or what. And Mr. Sievers again was the one that made the contact, and I said, well, yes, of course. So on March 5th, I was a guest, I guess, seated with the delegates on the floor of their convention. I think Montana, the political system, the economic system, has been placed into a position where, you know, they're going to be productive in the field of Indian education. We're not through this yet, but as a citizen of Montana, and I speak for a lot of Indian citizens, we are very gratified.